Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Drawing Down the Stars. I'm Snappy. Thank you for joining me. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. Let's give a shout out here to the chat. Good to see you, Banner. Good to see you, Graham. Much love, Exit. Good to see you, Gandhi. Nikosmas, good evening. Good evening, Christy. Good evening, Taz. Much love, Mother Rhea. And good to see you, Geronimo. Me Web, great to see you, Leslie. Much love, much love. Oof. So first, I want to apologize for being away the last couple days. I've been dealing with really bad allergies. I live out in the woods and I'm allergic to trees. It's not the best combo. So I'm not on something this evening. I'm just sniffly and red in the eyes. But yeah, thank you guys. This is a beautiful evening. And so glad to be back doing our regular tarot sessions. So let's start by talking a bit here about the astrology. So we're in a really interesting moment because we have this profound creative emotional intensity. The moon is in Scorpio. Moon in Scorpio is always kind of this raw, passionate, fiery moment, right? It's a moment where you're exposed and sensitive, but you're also in this deep place of wanting to express your inner self, of wanting to share your passion with the world. And combined with our sun in Leo, that creative fire, that unique self, that mighty roar, right? We combine these two energies, and this is a moment when you can be deeply creative, really express yourself, really make yourself seen and share your deepest thoughts and emotions. So connect in this moment, be creative, get out in the world and do something inspiring. And this brings me to the title of today's episode. So this comes from a few days ago when I did the tarot, and I had drawn at the time the Knight of Swords. And the Knight of Swords is really beautiful, interesting energy. It's this energy of being in pursuit of knowledge, but also being sure and certain of the path ahead, for have come to that reason, action, and then able to be able to go forward in that pursuit. So when I was meditating upon that energy, I was thinking about this idea of purpose and how we achieve it, how we manifest our desires. And it was about recognizing that the knight knows what he wants, knows what he needs, knows where he's going. The question is about imagining how to get there and doing the action of getting there. The knight is that actionable energy, manifesting in the present. It's that force that drives us into the fray, that sets us upon the path to be able to create and manifest our will, right? To bring our destiny to fruition, to go out and challenge the world through reason. You know, it's intense energy, but it's also beautiful energy. And I just wanted to read to you guys too a poem that I had come to. It's not 100% to do with the night, but I had come to it via the Sortes, and I really enjoyed it, and I shared it on the community tab as well. It's called Mother, Alpha, and Omega by Alfred Castor King. Mother, mother, the startled cry of childish fright rang through the silence of the night, as but the mother's fond caress could soothe its infantile distress. And the mother answered with a loving stroke of her gentle hand as she softly spoke, "Hush, hush, my child, that troubled cry. What evil can harm thee with mother nigh? Mother, mother, long years have passed, and the fevered brow of a bearded man she is stroking now, as through delirium and pain he cries, a little child again." And the mother answered with a loving stroke of her careworn hand as she softly spoke, Hush, hush, my child, that troubled cry. What evil can harm thee with mother nigh? Mother, mother, still time rolls on, and an old man stands trembling on life's declining sands. His memory bridges the flood of years. He cries as a child with childish tears, and memory answers with loving stroke of a vanished hand, and an echo spoke. Hush, hush, my child, that troubled cry. What evil can harm thee with mother nigh? And it's this recognition of the cycles, and it's recognition of this. How do we overcome fear? It's through that power of that mother and recognition of the unflowing of life as this really profound, loving embrace. We need to go into that Rhea, into that flow, and accept it, you know? But also, it's okay to go back and to seek comfort from the mother. We all do. We all will. Many times, we are all children and are brought to childhood. And the cycle will unfold again and again as we are confronted with the new and that which brings fear, you know? And in these moments of doubt, when we are uncertain of our purpose and how to go forward, take that moment and go into the flow. Accept that embrace of the mother. Go to your own mother. If you can't, go to Mother Nature. Go to the place of your mother's resting, you know, and connect to these things. Connect to that flow. Through her, see the great mother, right? Connect to the river. Through the river, see that unflowing of Mother Rhea, you know. And with this, embrace that ease and move forward in time and accept the unfolding of fate, that everything has a purpose and a pattern, and that all experience is meant to be experienced, right? All pain is fleeting. All love is fleeting. Only change and transformation in that flow, that great mother, is real. All right. Let us continue. We're going to start today with our Ganapati Ganesha Oracle. Ganapati is that divine child, the Lord of beginnings, guardian of the threshold, bringer of joy and abundance. Inspire us this evening. Lord of the Ganas. What do we have? Inner knowing, right? Going into that self, connecting to the deepest aspects, the most primordial, basic self. Listening until your thoughts run out, until your story has run its course and your mind has nothing left to say. Then you will hear her and you will feel that comfort. And you'll recognize all of that story is fleeting. And that's when that inner knowledge, that inner manifestation can come. And that's where you find your purpose and your connection. That's where you learn to overcome that fear, where you figure out how to move forward. Beautiful. All right. We're going to go to my dear friend Graham's book, My Neighbor Wants to Kill Me, for our sortes. So this is going to be a bit intense, so just be prepared. But I always find we get beautiful messages nonetheless from Graham. For those of you who don't know what the sortes is a form of bibliomancy. That is divination via literature, where we invoke the goddesses of inspiration in art, the muses, and we ask them to inspire us and to send us a message. So muses, guide my hand. What is the message from dear Graham? All right. Just says, okay, I'm having trouble with the camera. It says pretty much for the entire page, 9 of Swords. 9 of Swords, 9 of Swords. Oof, 9 of Swords energy. 9 of Swords is cruelty. right? Nine of Swords is overthinking to the point of self-harm, self-hatred, self-loathing, to the point of turning that wisdom upon the self, that actionable energy upon the self in rage, in desperation, right? It's that energy of destruction in order to overcome and be reborn. But it's painful, deeply, 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 deeply painful, right? It's beyond reason, completely, right? I always like to think of the swords in succession, any of the tarot cards in succession. So imagine we're back at that perfected balance of the six, right? Science, where everything is reasonable and we can move in flow, where we are safe and secure in our actions. We're not moving recklessly, but we are not overthinking. Then you get to the seven, is interference. Now you're starting to, doubt yourself. You're overthinking and you're moving slower. You're still going forward, but now there's this questioning, right? There's this, am I doing the right thing? Am I certain this is the right path? Da 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 da. Everything is harder, right? Then you get to the eight, that's interference. Now you're self-sabotaging, preventing yourself from getting out of bed, preventing yourself from doing what is necessary, right? Actively working against yourself. And then you get to the nine. Not just actively working against oneself, but actively harming oneself. Actively in this energy of hurt, out to cause yourself negativity, interpreting everything in the worst possible light. So when we think about this energy, we need to recognize that in this moment, we are being cruel to ourselves through this overthinking. If we are not moving, if we are not in flow, it is because of this self-hatred. It's because of this incredible self-doubt, It's painful energy that must be confronted. And you confront the swords either by pushing through them and getting over that incredible self-pain, or you reduce it and try to see things from a reasonable position. It's hard energy. It's hard energy. But it requires confrontation and recognition. So look in your own life and see where you are being cruel, where that mind is now causing yourself to it's literally being negative. Look for those patterns. Okay. We're now going to go to, this is an interesting book, I, Crowley by Snoo Wilson. So this is a fake sort of like autobiography. It's a really fun book. It has all kinds of sources and everything. It's a true biography, but it's written in as a from the perspective of Crowley. It's really fun. All of the chapters are different cards of the tarot. Anyway, it's a real fun book. Snoo Wilson, I, Crowley, almost The Last Confession of the Beast. Fun, satire, and biography all combined into one. So let's get the message. Muses, guide my hand. What is the inspiration from Snoo Wilson? Inspire us. Put up your bright swords, for the dew will rust them. Put up your bright swords, for the dew will rust them. Wow. You have to defend yourself and move, right? If your swords are in the grass, it will be rusted. Oof. Powerful energy and connecting deeply to what we are saying. I love that. This recognition of having to move to defend ourselves, right? To transform those swords. The cruelty are swords pointed inwards, downwards into the self, right? We want to raise the sword up. We want to become that knight, that one who can move in action. Let's continue. We're going to go to the Mystic Tarot and the Trees of Eternity. This is a book by Oliver St. John. I really love Oliver St. John. He writes a lot about the Lima and the tarot and has several books that I really enjoy. This is the one I recommend for sure. Muses, guide my hand. What is the inspiration from Oliver St. John? With the last of my strength, I plunge forward until I pass between the towers, rearing up immensely on either side of me. Wow. With the last of my strength, I plunge forward until I pass between the towers, rearing up immensely on either side of me. When you continue to move, you can overcome the forces that are against you, right? You can prevent that. Requires that action, that strength of self. Even if it's your last action, you have to continue ever, right? Ever forward, ever transforming. That is the message from the Great Mother in Dionysus, right? Into the generation, into the leap of creation, into the cycles, ever unfolding and compounding, ever evolving. Let us continue. We're going to do another one by Oliver St. John, Egyptian Tarot of Thelema. This is his book where he reorganizes the tarot of Aleister Crowley into something more returned to the Egyptian and for his personal work with his students. It's a beautiful book, and there's a lot of deep esoteric knowledge here. And I highly recommend the deck as well. I have the deck. I'm just not as familiar with it. And yeah. Muses, guide my hand. What is the message from Oliver St. John? The ancient Egyptian source of the word is Shen, the ring of eternity and the round, which is sown here being carried through the air by Horus in the form of a falcon. Wow. The ring and the falcon, the ring of eternity. We're getting into, again, that time energy, Saturn and Rhea. Beautiful, beautiful energy. And of course, right, we have Horus. Oh, wow. Horus is that divine child to come, right? This is Dionysus type energy. Well, I guess Osiris would be Dionysus. I'm not as familiar with the Egyptian. It's my issue. For those of you who know your comparison between the Greek and the Egyptian, how would you correspond Horus to the Greek? Please chat, let me know what you think. But this idea here, I love that the ring of eternity and the round, right? You know, in the mother goddess cults, you always see very similar iconography again. The circle, the chain, the beads, the mala, right? The mala is not usually is 108, which is 9 beads. And that gives you the cycle of eternity, right? You complete one whole trip around, you have recited up to that Pythagorean 9, completing a total cycle of transformation. You know? So it's really, really deep. And also with the round, you have that energy of the earth and the stone. you know, and that Gaia, that earth, the round of the pregnant mother. Beautiful imagery. Lots to think on there. Wow. All right. Let's continue. We're going to go to Book of Thoth by Aleister Crowley. Muses, guide my hand. What is the message from the Book of Thoth? For this attitude, there is sound traditional authority. Harpocrates, god of silence, is called the Lord of defense and protection. Well, there we go. There's the correspondence. I remember now. Oh my gosh, that's wild. Harpocrates in Horace are the same. I remember now. Because Harpocrates is a divine child to come, and he comes out of the Alexandrian system, which is that amalgamation of the Greek and Egyptian. And he does that gesture, right? The silence, but he's the Lord of defense and protection. Wow, we're really getting this imagery of having to defend ourselves and learning to defend ourselves and to do the right action. You know, wow. Harpocrates makes me think too of that Ion card. The Ion is really deep energy, right? Beginning a new cycle of creation, beginning a new focus, a whole new way of being. Beautiful. Wow. Interesting. Okay. I'm just gonna, we're on a Crowley roll today. I just realized I have all these Crowley books. I might as well go through them. So we're having some fun. We're gonna keep on our Crowley roll. This is a weird one. This is called Amor Divina 666. And this is a collection of his mystical writings around sexual magic and other things. So, Muses, guide my hand. What is the message from Amor Divina? Inspire us. This is just beautiful. And the Spirit and the bride say, come. And let him that liveth say, come. And let him that is athirst come, and whoever will, let him take the water of life freely. Beautiful. And the Spirit and the bride say, come. And let him that liveth say, come. And let him that is athirst come, and whoever so will, let him take the water of life freely. Beautiful. This makes me think, I was reading this really interesting text. It was talking about the idea of forgiveness and how forgiveness within the ancient Greek is a magical act. And it was something that was reserved for the mystery cults, and it was born out of the mystery cults, that outside of the minor goddess, I can't remember her name offhand, representative of forgiveness herself, you almost see no forgiveness within the ancient Greek epics or plays. It's something that is just not there. The universe is a cruel place. The gods are malicious. You know, people get apotheosis and ascension and a balancing of karma, but there isn't this idea of forgiving of the sins and whatnot, except within the mystery cults and dealing specifically with that soteria and the medwa. You know, it seems to begin with this Median tradition. Really interesting. And we're getting those allusions here to this idea, right? The water of life is the porneia, is the holy grail, that cup of the priestess that causes you to die and rise again, right? That Hebe Yeah, Gandhi. The Hebe, she's the original cupbearer before Ganymede and Zeus. You know, really interesting. Lots to think on. But I think the key is this idea that everyone can participate freely, free forgiveness, free love, right? And a welcoming in. One of the great powers of Medea in this is that, and Ammon talks about this often, is that she overcomes the violence of her lineage, the violence of the world around her, and brings that forgiveness. She becomes the divine savior, the Soteria. Wildly different than what preceded her. Look at the magic of Circe and Hecate compared to the Medwa, right? I mean, we do have to also acknowledge that a lot of this is written by the later Greek tradition, which is still trying to vilify at least some aspects of that Hecatean, Circean tradition. But there is this interesting thing here, right? Even though this tradition is older, predates the Greek, right? It's clearly of Titanic origins. Hecate is a Titaness. But when we read in the Theogony, I believe, I think it's the Theogony, the point is that Hecate is singled out by Zeus as the only one to match him and the only Titan who maintains her domain and must be praised and respected. And when I asked Ammon about this directly, and he said that he believes it's because Hecate is the personification or in that lineage of night, represents that primordial night, that essence of that chaos gap, that primordial feminine womb, the great mother in its most primal. And even Zeus has to, submit to that energy. Hecate is that manifestation, that continuous manifestation of that primordial feminine. Anyway, I'm going off on a rant. But it's beautiful to think about. All right. Let's continue. We're going to go to, we'll keep our Crowley theme. One last Crowley. Book 4. All right. The tome. Uses Guide My Hand. What is the message from Book 4? Inspire us. Infinite space is called the goddess Nuit, while the infinitely small and atomic yet omnipresent point is called Hadit. This is just beautiful because this is we see direct comparison within the Greek with this, right? And that is in the Orphic with Chronos and Ananke. Chronos, right? That divider, but as that absolute point, right? The one who cuts, the infinitesimally small, that holds time in its place, that force of action, Chronos as time, right? And then Ananke is that chaos, the infinite space, right? And also that erotic force of driving. Anyway, it's so interesting, right? You have one that is that ever expanding universal, and then the ever small time in its multiplicity, Chronos and Rhea. Chronos and Rhea. I guess Rhea would be the better one to say than with Ananke, but it's Chronos in its concept of this cosmic time. A lot of people, I've talked to Amos extinctively about many times about this, because a lot of modern scholars want to create two forms of Chronos. The Titanic Chronos as the ruler upon the earth and slayer of his children, and then the Orphic Chronos. But Ammon claims that they're one and the same. And he uses two sources for this. That was the Hymn to King Helios by Julian the Apostate, references this directly, and also Macrobius's Saturnalia references this directly. So it's quite interesting there seems to be this, the modern tradition wants to separate the Titan Chronos from the Orphic Chronos, but the ancient tradition doesn't really. And yeah, you could argue that Macrobius is a later tradition, and so is Julian. But I love Hellenism, and I'm really deeply inspired, though I don't wholly agree with Julian and Macrobius. I love Julian and Macrobius, so I'm going to go with their interpretation. They lived it, Right. Anyway, interesting to think on this idea, right, of that flowing universe, right, and of time, and then that infinitely small point of time held in space, that divider, that force, and that's Saturn and Rhea, the lovers, the most primordial couple, in my opinion. That's so deep. And right, Saturn is also that Dionysus energy, as Gandhi again is pointing out here. Saturn, Kronos, Dionysus. Again, Macrobius and Julian tell us this in both the hymn to King Helios and in the Saturnalia. So really great texts that should be checked out for anyone interested in this perspective. Wow. Okay, let's continue. We're going to go to Arcana Mundi. This is a really fun book. George Luck goes through many of the Greek epics and looks specifically for sources of magical workings and rites, and really just translates those specifically and dives deep into them. It's a great text, and for anyone interested in ancient Greek magic, it's a must read. One of the greats of the genre. All right, Muses, guide my hand. What is the message from George Luck? Here we go. Holding the sword in her hand, she jumped back and forth between the ditch and the pyre, aroused him once more, and as he stood up, renewed her questions and forced him to make his prediction, not just by nodding, but in clear language. Oh, wow. So they're talking about the necromancy. She must be raising a dead person. Let me look. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so she's yelling at a dead person. Okay, let me reread this. Holding the sword in her hand, she jumped back and forth between the ditch and the pyre, aroused him once more, and as he stood up, renewed her questions and forced him to make his prediction, not just by nodding, but in clear language. So we see variations of these rites many, many, many times. And there's the oldest version of this kind of necromantic rite, though we don't see the pyre, which is mentioned here, would be, at least I don't believe you see the pyre, is in the Odyssey. So Odysseus does a very similar spell in order to raise, in order to bring back the spirit of Tiresias. And a bunch of stuff, weird stuff happens. What you need to know is that there's this weird, mysterious death, that there needs to be a death. In order to do the necromantic rites, you need to have a death. You don't necessarily need a body, but you need to have a death or a body. You can have a body become possessed, though in Odysseus's version, you don't see this. In this version, you're seeing the body raise up and then speak clearly in divine this way. In Odysseus's version, what happens is before he gets to the island where he does the rites, there's a mysterious death of his friend Elpenor. This is needed. This is a magical setup prior to the rite that the muse is guiding Odysseus to do, or potentially Circe. There's a lot of debate and it's weird, but Circe does give Odysseus the right. So later on, when he goes to do this rite in order to speak to Tiresias, he first digs, like we see here, a ditch, right? And it only has to be a couple inches deep and a little bit wide. And this is your gateway to the underworld. He then takes a black ram and he slits the black ram's throat as a sacrifice, and they pour the blood into the ditch. And then the hungry spirits all start to rise up, and Odysseus takes out his sword and he has to defend this sacrifice from these spirits until he gets the spirit that he wants. And there's all this weird stuff where he confronts Elpenor and he confronts his mother. Eventually, though, he gets to speak to the divine Tiresias, who can divine the future, and he is given the advice of where to go inland to set up his willow. It's super deep, magical, esoteric stuff, and I've been studying this for a while, and I'm still not even sure what's going on. But Tiresias tells him to go inland and to place this marks where there's this, basically it's like a treasure map, a treasure chest, a treasure spot he's supposed to go to, where he has to set up a winnowing fan. And this is in relation to a sacrifice to Poseidon. But the point is that we have this kind of using the sword in the necromantic rites to protect the right, to defend yourself from these malicious, hungry ghosts, so that you can get the right spirits. You know, you need to be able to defend and protect yourself from the dead. This is a theme that you see in a lot of these ancient texts. You know, Odysseus has to protect himself with the sword in order to ensure that the sacrifice gets to Tiresias and not to the hungry ghosts. And here we're seeing the witch holding the sword in her hand and jumping back and forth between the ditch and the pyre, and then rising up and challenging him, right? This is another thing, is using your authority. The sword is a way to threaten and to produce authority, you know. If you're trying to force something, this is how you do it, right? Renewed her questions and forced him to make his predictions, not just by nodding, but in clear language, right? If you're going to force a spirit, you need to have that sword. Necromancy is scary stuff, right? Scary stuff. Interesting. That's fun. All right. We're going to do one more sword taste and then we'll get to the tarot proper. Sorry, we're going a little long today. I'm having fun. All right. It's been a while. So let's see. I'm just going to open it. First page here. What do we got? And he that was full of humility prayed him, for God's sake leave this battle, for if it befell, fair brother, that I slew you, or you me, we should be dead of that sin. Wow. And he that was full of humility prayed, for God's sake leave this battle, for it befell, fair brother, that I slew you, or you slew me, we should be dead of that sin. Beautiful. More swords. More swords again. So many swords. But this is interesting. You have that reason, and reason overcoming the negativity here, right? Reason is challenging the conflict and is seeing that if we continue in this, we're dooming each other. Beautiful. Interesting. Okay. Thank you guys for taking that journey with me. And if you could, please give me a like and a subscribe. The likes really do make a big difference. They boost everything in the algorithm. And it's a good blessing and it's good karma. So please. And if you are at all interested in a private tarot reading, please reach out. You can email me, snappydts@gmail.com, or you can find me on the Myth and Lore Discord at Snappy or Lady Snappy. All right, and we are going to do our Saturn Square reading, where we invoke the spirit of Saturn Kronos and we ask him to dissect our life, to cut it up and put it on the plate, to expose our inner conflicts, to expose what is happening in our present, and to show us how do we learn to move and flow, how do we evolve from this situation, and how do we best manifest our true will. The center card is always the most important. So here we go. Prince of Swords. Reckless, fiery energy of pursuing your passion. This is that teenage energy of going out in the world and wanting to just sow your oats. You know, that energy of just recklessness. The thing here with this energy is that there's that fiery passion that can be put to good use, but this is can be very selfish energy and be very reckless energy. We want this energy to become more mature, more refined. We want to see that Knight of Wands, the one who has that complete ability to manifest their will, right? This energy is showing up fiery and passionate and reckless. It could burn everything down around it, or it can be the best lover of your dreams, right? Let's see where this is going. Oh, interesting. Truce. Did we not just have a truce in the last sorties? Right? This is about seeing from multiple perspectives and taking in everything and balancing it out so that you can birth that blossom of the lotus, right? And that lotus comes from seeing things from the multiple sides, recognizing the complexity of the situation, understanding and harmony, and coming to that point of recognition, right? Where you can create beauty, you can give birth to the lotus, you can rise above the fray, out of the mud, right? The lotus is born from that chaos and destruction and produces that beauty. And that's the potential of the truth, right? Overcoming, not overthinking, recognizing you got to take in all kinds of different perspectives, seeing things, balancing it out. That's really great energy to be connected to our Prince of Wands, that reckless youth, right? Not so reckless if he's in truce. Let's see where this is going. Beautiful. Seven of Wands, valor, right? Seven of Wands is usually always a bit chaotic because you're expanding upon that perfected balance of the six. You know, you're trying to move out of that middle path and into something more fiery and productive, right? Dangerous. In the suit of the Wands, what we see is that we're moving from that victory into a new conflict. And our valor is going to be challenged as we try to expand to higher places. Not that we shouldn't continue in this, but it's recognizing that in order to move forward, we must maintain our virtue. We must maintain purity of our passion, of our direction, and not allow ourselves to be corrupted, not allow our flame to become diffused and dispersed. Right now, it's about concentration. It's about concentration, about holding true, about continuing in the direction that you've set out. You know, so this is beautiful energy. So with this Prince of Wands, even though he's showing up reckless, he's embracing at least the foundation of that recent energy. He's seeing things in perspective and he is moving in a more balanced way than you would expect. And he's seeing great victory in this passionate pursuit and he's going forward still, right? He just needs to maintain that true nature to his direction, right? Continue where he's meant to go. All right, let's continue. What is our youthful prince here seeking? Where are they chasing? But art. And what is art but the consummation of the lovers, right? It is that procreative act itself, coming together for the purposes of creation, whether it is the manifestation of art, whether it is the creation of a child, or just the pursuit of pleasure, right? It's all represented in this art card. And it's a recognition that by engaging in these practices of coming together with the other to create. You are going through this act of personal refinement, of reflecting, and through that aesthetic appreciation of beauty and ever tasting, you can see yourself reflected in the natural world. You can become the Adranahari Ishvara, the divine Fanis, right? That bi-gendered soul, the one who can incorporate the masculine and the feminine in perfection. If you look in the back right, you see that divine androgyne, Fanis, Adranahari Ishvara, the Rebbe, right? They are the fruit of the alchemical act. That's the penultimate moment before absolute unity and realization, right? Behind them is that Orphic egg returning back, the Hiryanya Garbha, right? And what are they manifesting? But that cup, right? The holy grail, right? The water of life, which we also got in our sortes, that should be for everyone, that brings that forgiveness. And it's that act of love making that brings forgiveness, sharing in that passionate connection, right? This is so much, a lot of people don't understand that the act of creation of love making itself is so much about learning. It's about love, right? It's about making you care. It's about making you connected to something, to someone else. And that's what it does. It breeds attachment and romance and passion and connection and new creation. And that is what our prince is seeking. That is what they're manifesting. Beautiful. All right, let's continue. Indolence connected to that art, right? This is that energy of, right now we are in that sloth. We are in that negative state. We are not moving towards this creation, or this creation is out of reach, you know, that artistic approach there. And part of this is because we have too many cups, too many things. We're not fixated upon the love that is present and the love that is flowing, you know. We are overindulgent, and it's leading to this decay and decrepitude, right? Look at the world around these cups, right? When I receive this energy of the indolence cup, I always recognize that it's about a return and a fixation upon those cups that are flowing in balance, that foundational energy, and a recognition that we need to move away from this overindulgence and overexposure, right? Interesting. And then we have the peace. Wow. Yeah, I think the message here is clear. This is about going, this is about checking ourselves and moving ourselves out of that slothful, indulgent, decrepit energy, that selfish energy, and about directing it to this pursuit of creation, right? Fixating upon those energies in which you wish to create with, those deep, passionate relationships, people that you love, really important friends, lovers, you know, creators, your partners, right? Not just people, I'm talking about physical lovemaking, but people that you are creative with, that you are inspired to be with, that you respect on that level, right? And it's about being at peace and recognizing that you gotta let some of this energy go and focus on the energy that flows, right? Trim the fat. Let's see where this is going. Wow, this Prince pursuit of the art is that fortune, right? Fortune and fate. But it's also this energy, right, of learning to move and to flow with that fortune energy, right? When we receive fortune, we must recognize that what we are experiencing in the now is the fruit of the past, and what we will experience is the fruit of the present, and that the wheel is forever turning, And it's the only thing we can be certain of is that change, that transformation. And this calls us to remind ourselves to adapt, to learn to flow with these changes, to ride upon the wheel, to be a boat that can spin, and recognize that we will all have these moments of darkness. We will all have these moments of light. We have to embrace the flow and adapt and flow as we go, right? Fortune, fate, oof. Intense energy, you know. Fortuna is always cruel, even when she is, rewarding you with untold riches. It's cruel. Don't kid yourself, you know. Oof. The wheel of fate, though, always goes round. Interesting. Fated connections, the pursuit of art, and the pursuit of the Queen of Wands. Wow. The Queen of Wands, this is that energy, right? We were talking about earlier, Hecate and Circe. To me, the Queen of Wands is that manifestation of that Circean energy, that fiery, passionate queen who can radiate that sun energy, right? Who can control men, controls her surroundings, that inspirational energy. This is these also in the real world, like in our current world, right? These would be those deeply inspiring artistic women, Erykah Badu's, Beyonce's, Taylor Swift's, those powerful women who just cause other people to just be truly inspired and in awe of their radiance, for better or for worse. That's that energy that we're pursuing, and it's fated. This is what we're seeing here with that fortune energy is that this energy coming into your life, you moving towards it, that prince chasing it, it's meant to be. There's a deep connection here. Wow. Let's continue. And now we have our priestess energy. Beautiful. Wow. The priestess, right? This is that energy of the primordial feminine. It's the first feminine card that appears, explicitly feminine, right? You have the bigendered fool, you have the masculine magician, and then you have the priestess, the first feminine form, that moon, right? The one who weaves fortune. Interesting energy to have tied to fate and to fortune. This is recognizing that this is the unfolding of many events over many lifetimes. This is a connection that's meant to happen, right? Connect to that inspiring feminine. Look to the patterns. Look to the synchronicities. See the life and the fate unfolding around you and recognize that this is meant to be. Wow. That's powerful energy, right? And it's also about the discipline that is necessary to overcome and to move and to connect, to ride the waves of fortune and to connect to that Queen of Wands, right? This connection is so important and it's meant to happen, but it still requires that discipline, requires that profound work, right? The tapestry does not weave itself. Let's continue. All right, we're going to flip our camera and see the full unfolded square. But before I do, please give me a like and a subscribe. And if you're at all interested in a private reading, please reach out, snappydddts@gmail.com, or you can reach me on the Myth and Lore Discord, Snappy or Lady Snappy. All of the info is in the description. So here we go. Let's take a look. There is our full square. We'll start here with this truce and that indolence. What the recognition here, I believe, is that to connect to this queen, it's going to require, it's going to require personal refinement. It's going to require one to take responsibility, to stop being slothful and decrepit and to engaging in that outward stuff. If you want to pursue this connection, you must pursue that connection, right? Recognizing that you're in this murkiness in this moment, right? But also be at truth with it. You know, the key to overcoming that energy is not to fight it so much, but to work, to do the hard work of becoming disciplined and recognizing that even this takes time, right? You got to be in truth with your addictions, in truth with your issues, and where you are overwhelmed. Indolence is hard energy to overcome, right? It's hard when people are needy and they're asking for support. It's hard to recognize where the energy is flowing fully. It's hard to be able to trim and cut the fat where it's needed. You know, this requires a lot of reflection and self-control. And we need to recognize that this is an unfolding work that's going to happen over time. And it requires discipline. And it requires refinement. But if we can do that work of refining, of connecting, we can connect to this Queen of Wands, that divine inspiration. And she can also help us to see these energies for what they are. You know, to recognize in our life where we are falling short and where we need to, as an individual, refine, and also recognize those energies in our lives that are maybe coming up and are negative, that are holding us back, right? That are not in flow with us, that we need to distance ourselves from, at least in these moments, right? Everything moves in flow, you know, and the cups that may not be flowing today may flow again tomorrow, but you must recognize in the present that it's not of your best interest to be in connection with these energies if they can't flow, right? Give and receive, or it doesn't work. Okay, let's continue. We talked a lot about the center, right? That fiery, immature, reckless prince. What is he after? Oh, that connection, consummation, creation, artistry, all of this. And this is that faded energy, right? But it's more than that. That art is about finding that other. It's about manifesting this Adranahari Ishvara, right? It's about that coming together of the divine, right? Eros and Psyche. It's about, you know, Hermaphroditus, right? Aphrodite and Hermes forming into one, doing the alchemical work, right? Shiva and Parvati coming together into one. Seeing yourself in the lover, in the friend, in your creation, in the muse, right? There are many ways that the art can be done. And the art can be done with many people and many things. With anything. To make love is to be human, to be in the universe, right? But it's profound creative energy. And it's about seeing yourself reflected in those others so that you can do this refined creation process, manifest the next generation. Not just protect the self and create the self, but manifest the next generation, right? Beautiful. Let's continue. Right. Here we having it all on display. What does the prince need to do to flow with fate, to create that art, to connect to his queen? Right? He needs to be in this pursuit of this valorous, chivalrous energy, to recognize in this moment, look, he's standing behind the weave, right? And we have the the priestess, who is the weaver, the one who understands and connects fate and moves fate. This is that energy to get in that connection, to move with fate, to embody this priestess. We have to be true to what we desire, right? We have to follow and imagine and pursue that passion energy and be true to it. And we also have to be at peace with the self, to be imbalanced, to give birth to that lotus, right? That comes out of this balance when we're at peace, right? And recognize, look, we can even draw down the moon. And we're drawing down the moon here too. Beautiful. Just about being true to oneself, being in balance, and going in this flowing connection. Beautiful. All right, let's look at our crosses. Our first cross. Yeah. This is energy that just makes sense. This is energy that's completely balanced and at peace with one another, right? The queen and the prince, even though the prince may be a little immature, this is energy that just is in harmony, in loving connection, right? And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. This is just it's going to grow and continue to grow. It's about this energy coming together and about this prince refining themselves, right? Trimming the fat here, right? Becoming in truce, pursuing their valor and moving in flow, rising to fortune's fate, you know? Yeah. And how do we overcome this indolence energy? Through that discipline, through that disciplined action of the priestess who does the hard work, the daily rites, the daily work, you know? Think of that mother energy, right? It's that energy of just doing what is necessary in your immediacy. Everything that must be done to ensure, right? The priestess is the one who rises to make sure that the dawn comes up. She does the rites to give birth to the sun each day from the underworld, you know? And it's necessary each and every day. So that's about taking that discipline, overcoming this indolence, refining the self so that you can manifest that night and move to this queen. And this is all faded energy for this creation. It's beautiful. All right. That is the reading. I hope it resonated with you. It certainly resonated with me. Beautiful. You know, pursue your love, pursue passion, chase that creative spark, go out and create the art. The key here is to do the work and discipline necessary to create it, to be in that valorous pursuit, in single-minded, dogmatic pursuit of it. You know, that queen, that inspiration energy, she's here and present in your life. What is inspiring you? Is it the muse? Is it a person? It's showing up. You have to find her and connect with her and manifest this creative energy with her. You know, whatever she is for you. Beautiful. All right. We are now going to do one final sortes. We're going to do one more gram. We're going to go now to cruelty and transformation, the integration of mysticism in life and art by my dear friend Grant. Muse, what is the final message for the audience tonight? Inspire us. A perpetual cycle where I perish and am reborn in every passing moment. A perpetual cycle where I perish and am reborn in every passing moment. Recognize the cycles and the transformation. Ever flowing in that circle. Right? Beautiful. The dying and rising God, ever reborn. And that flowing river, the great Mother Rhea. Beautiful. All right, everyone. Peace and love. I hope this really resonated and was helpful for you all. And I hope I see you again tomorrow for more live tarot. Until then, take care.